ibxtoycat, and welcome back to another live stream on the internet. It's Halloween, or Halloween-ish. Do you like this? I got it at a convenience store, just specially for the occasion, by the way. Wanted to let you all know that it's spooky time. I'm just kidding. The only thing spooky today is the amount of effort that I have dedicated to working on a giant tunnel through my nether. Indeed, if you have a nether with huge walls, this is one of the biggest things that restricts your movement around it because you have to work around those natural contours. But no, not for me. I am deciding that I want to go through all of these hills, and so that is why I have this ridiculously sized tunnel that I am crafting through my nether. And so it's actually been a very synergistic project with my building a nether in the overworld, but basically I need tens of thousands more. I've gone through over 100,000 netherrack now, but I still need tens of thousands more netherrack blocks. And so how do you get them? You get them by mining netherrack, which conveniently, it turns out you can do. You can mine yourself some netherrack while mining a big tunnel through the nether, because yeah, this is what my nether looked like before. This used to be a big bunch of nothing here, and now I'm turning it into a bunch of something by slowly carving out the netherrack that exists in this place. Like right here you can see I've got a big old tools pile of these, and so we mine up the blocks above us and slowly but surely carve out our own little special slice of nether right here. I think it's a lot of fun, and join me for another one. That's right, live streams on the internet. I do them best. I am going to be having a brief little pause in the live streams. I'm going to be doing a little bit of travel. It's been it's something that every time I get back to, it feels like alien now. Like, oh, it's been so long since I left the country. Because I went for a big period of leaving every single month, basically, to spend half my time in the US and UK. Whenever I go back, it's like, oh, crazy. What's going on over here? Feels like a rare occasion, but basically, yeah. There's I'm leaving, and I'm taking basically a week to try and get like I know some just everything in order, right? I think that's a important life thing to do sometimes, and so I figured I want to do, especially given that it's like Halloween. Wait, yeah, Halloween. That is what people call it. Given that it is Halloween after all, I figured it was especially important, and so that is what I'm up to today. Join me for it, or don't, I guess. Welcome to the harem, new wife. Oh, wow, I read the message at the same time I see that Mr. Dude Guy has become the 420th channel member. There, you know, I if nothing else, appreciate the new member, the number that you chose to become. Good decision, if nothing else. So, yeah, thank you very much. I do appreciate members massively. As you all know, if you're a member, people like Holly Caps Heron, by the way, good to see you. As you'll know, if you're a member, you'll be able to see some of the, let's say best content that exists on the channel. You know what, Holly, have you seen the Mountain Dew bath video? If so, is it the best content on the channel? It's okay if you think it's the worst. You individually can hold this opinion baton right here. I do think, you know, one of the things I like to do in my streams is whenever you try to talk to chat as a big mob, if it's not the most basic question in the world, you get, like, it's an impossible thing to do, in my opinion. Come on, it's pretty good, says, Claudia Stone Stacy. I am glad, that you think so. I think it's one of the most interesting videos on the internet. Holly says, not yet, but I intend to. Emotionally prepare yourself, is all I'll say. You know, if you're emotionally prepared for that, you're emotionally prepared for anything, is the way I see it. But, yeah, now I'm deliberately carving out this little section here, so I can just go crazy on it. Because ultimately, the fine edges of this have to be, like, perfectly mined, but the inner bits will be fine. And so today, over the course of the live stream, you'll see me slowly mine out this tunnel. Maybe that's the main point of the live stream, or maybe the main point of the live stream is that we haven't really had one of these good long chats for like a few hours in a row, and it's a good opportunity to do that. And so one of the things I wanted to mention is like I was kind of vaguely saying, like one of the weird things about humans is individually we're all pretty great, but the moment we become part of a crowd, we become really bad at working out like what's our job and what's not, and like, you know, like it gets really, really tricky, and honestly and understandably so. Like if someone asks you a question and you're in a room with two other people, working out like, should I answer that question? It's really, really annoying, right? Yeah, it's and so in the same way, like I feel like when you try to talk to chat, sometimes it can be messy. I feel like it's much easier for me to just talk to individuals who happen to be in the chat. But then we're going to get into the big debate about like, well, you know, are you chat or are you an individual right now? But, you know, to avoid the ego death that will occur if we try to answer that one, instead we can say, the rain in Spain falls mainly on the plain, and Jamie says they couldn't get through it. I was watching it on my TV just now. I don't know why not a smart idea, by the way, but I was watching the Mountain Dew video, the new member exclusive on my TV, and I was just like, why would anyone record themselves in the bath like this? This is the most vulnerable angle a person can be at, and I'm doing it for a Gamer Boy bathwater bit. It's too much. It's too much. Anyway, I support the current thing. Beep bop, beep bop. I am the chat, says Jan. Dazed and Confused says they are the chat. You know, we've got multiple people. Hungry Warden claims to be chat as well. You know, not everyone can be the chat, though. Logically speaking, some people are not the chat, and they're actually lying. How do we know who those people are, though? It's impossible to be sure. But yeah, one of the things I think is kind of key to like having a good time while streaming is just I think we'll talk to people individually.
Yes, I'm the 420.
Hey!
To properly celebrate fire, evergreen tree, evergreen tree.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dude Guy. I don't even mind that I fell down while reading that because you know I'm glad that you enjoy the fire, tree. Your local fire department probably doesn't enjoy that you set fire to trees, but you know what? As your local Minecraft guide, I will tell you that actually setting fire to trees is a good thing. Honestly, if a tree burns just because the tree next to it's willing to burn, it's a forest fire risk, right? One of the again, I don't know about this because I don't live in one of the regions of the world where the country just sets itself on fire every 2 to 3 years. But places that have a lot of forest are always saying like, yeah, it's because we don't burn them often enough that they burn so bad. It's like I know it's a kind of interesting reality about basically anything bad that you've got to limit how and when it happens, not try and eradicate it. Like there's a few things we've eradicated, like polio, but even then, people the diseases that get too eradicated, people stop caring about, and then they start to but with the exception of like polio, we are doing a very bad job of dealing with disease. Another example is I think the fire one is classic, but I also think like crime, right? Like once rampant crime goes away, we stop caring about how to deal with it and taking measures to be safe. And so, yeah, also don't be scared. The chat isn't real, says PsychoBob78. You know, if there's one person you can trust for psychological advice, it's someone called Psycho Bob. I mean, it's in the name, right? Psychological Bob. That's why you're called Psycho Bob, right? Because you're really good with psychology facts and all your friends and family trust you with it. That's gotta be the reason, I reckon. Anyway, yeah, on your Microsoft Edge, the live chat is smaller than the Google search, which is annoying. See, the trick here is don't use Microsoft Edge, right? I think it's a solidly fine browser, but I feel like with Microsoft, maybe they'll change their tunes on this. They're always like a bit too late to follow what people actually want from them, market-wise. So like, I feel like, you know, you can spot this in Windows in all sorts of ways. You spot this in, I think the fact that Internet Explorer was deemed as good enough for long enough until eventually enough people stopped using it. Like, that's what it takes Microsoft to change. They have to see negative financial results. And that's what, if I have to say so myself, I'd say that's the biggest problem they're going to suffer with Minecraft. Like, you know, rather than, like, trying to, like, proactively, like, invest and make the game bigger and better, they're going to be like, you know, everything is great as fine how it is right now. Until we see a big competitor, we don't need to do anything. Which is, I think that's the thing a lot of people hate about businesses. Something which I think is really interesting about, you know, we'll dive into the deep talks about like ethics and AI and you know the whole interaction between those two things.
That means.
You know, ask the ace. So the way I would describe what it means. So you know, first of all, appreciate the tip, $11.01. I don't think I've ever received a tip for that amount before. I can be totally honest with you when I'm saying that. I would be surprised to learn that I had. So that's fun, first of all, right? I hope you agree. If you don't agree, then the whole rest of this premise falls apart. But second of all, what it is it's this kind of collective identity that people tend to take on in different situations. So, yeah, the idea of being chat in this case is that right now you are functioning as an individual,
but you're also functioning as part of the collective. People really enjoy being parts of collectives, and if you don't believe me, look up how popular live music is. Live music is a place where you go to be with other music fans, and you drop your individual identity. Like, you never look at a concert of U2 fans or Stone Goers. Yeah, Stone Goers, that's a real band, trust me, I am a music man. You wouldn't look at a crowd at a C418 concert. You wouldn't look at them and go, oh, that's Steve, that's John, that's Timothy. Oh, that guy probably is an accountant. That guy, no. All those things drop away, and you become part of the collective. You become the hive mind. Even if not, like, sharing the hive mind's opinions or whatever, you do at least, like, if someone else in that crowd got punched, you'd be like, ah, they're punching one of us. Whereas if a random person gets punched, you hear about it on the news, you're like, ah, that sucks. Like, having senses of identity is what ties us together. And so, but also, when you're with a big group of people, you usually will naturally form a big, you know, a classic example of this is like, if there's, have you been on a plane that's been delayed? Every one of the passengers is on the side of like, ah, I hate the airline. You know, like, airline's messing it all up, etc. Whenever there's, like, a big mistake, like, people band together. You're all in some common, you know, common situation, common adversary, common goal, common shared belief. It's really, really cool. Also, what level fan am I if I'm watching in my Christmas cat shirt? You know, those Christmas cat shirts are only available at specific times of the year. Has to be said. It means that you're a diligent fan that knows that actually... the best way to, the best time to get Christmas merch is in mid-July and/or February. That was one of my favorite pushes we've ever done. Is the Christmas merch in February. I think there are a grand total of like 9 Christmas cat shirts in the wild. I think that might be overestimating it. There are dozens of the Christmas sweaters, the ugly ones we did. A lot of people have literally just an ibxtoycat shirts. I enjoy these a lot, by the way. But yeah, it's interesting. Also, Lena Raine concert. I'd go to a Lena Raine concert. If you wouldn't, then what's that? You know, that seems like a problem on you, honestly. But yeah, it's the same when you go to watch like a piece of comedy. Whenever everyone's focused on one person. Because you know, one of the things that is not normal in human like average conversation, you know, it doesn't happen often. Is this idea that everyone is focused on one person. When you have like a group of 5 people, sometimes it is like, okay, here's my idea, I need to pitch it. But it's rare, right? It's not like that's not the average 5-person friend group. How's it going, Toycat? I think I'll stick around for the stream. Been a while since I watched the whole one. I'm sure it won't fail to cheer me up a little bit. I'm sorry to hear you're doing poorly, Ezra Morgan. What's going on? I've been thinking a lot about like mood stuff recently. Because I think I've had like the ultimate get out of jail free card for feeling a little bit sad for a while. And it's weird because my instinct upon getting that is like not necessarily to use it, which is you know, I think is maybe a downside even. Like you know, like rather than, you know, like I've got like a free, oh sorry I couldn't be there, turns out you know, a love person died. I've had that card like stored around for a while. But I think the biggest reason that it's actually hard to analyze. I'm trying to think about it right now. Like I think it's hard to know why you are feeling the way you feel, I guess, is maybe an important part of this. Is that like not everyone always perfectly understands what is going on. Also, 1/3 focused on Toycat, 1/3 focused on a desert, 1/3 reading chat. Man, I don't know how anyone can multitask. I do such a bad job. I can't even keep a single train of thought going sometimes. I'll be like, okay, so here's what happens. You're in a crowd and you lose your sense of identity. And I'm like, so speaking of losing identities, has anyone else ever picked up someone else's ID and tried to like get it back to them? Has anyone else ever picked up someone else's ID and then just figured, you know, I'm not going to give it back. I'm going to use this if it ever comes up. Has anyone else ever... I'll be honest, I picked up someone's passport once. I was like, oh, this is such a nightmare. This feels like a crime to even do something with. So I'll just put this right back there when I was like a teenager. And so the second time I found someone's ID, I'm like, okay, I'm doing this the right way. I've learned a useful pro tip since that, is you can put someone's ID in the letterbox, the mailbox, the post box. and it will eventually get to that person's address. Like it's crazy how the postal service works. Like it feels made up that there's just like, yeah, there's a box. You put anything in there with an address, it just arrives at where you want it to. It just arrives there. Can you imagine that? Also, are you feeling sad because you've been eating sad? I've been eating, okay, I know this is one of those, like, everyone has their own way of dealing with things, etc. things, but I had been eating so much good stuff. I see then, I as the chat declare we are chatting as chat because we are chatting as chat while being the chat that are also chatting. See, but you actively are a representation of chat there, Ace to Ace. There's a lot of people here, but the individual identities have long since faded away. You leave your comments individually, but you are sort of representing everyone. If I come in here right now, you know, I don't know, like, let me try and give a decent example, if I can. Okay, by the way, this is getting... I guess we're just gonna have to follow this down over here and just hope for the best. See how that goes, huh? But, to try and give an example here. If I ask, hey chat, how's it going today? Physically, it would be impossible for you to have one answer, right? It's a silly question to answer on one on that one level. It's like, yeah, why would you even ask that? Like, the chat can't be doing good or poorly. Chat is always doing both good and bad at the same time. Unless it's a particularly bad day, you know, like, I would say if it's like 9/11 or something, but even then, you know, there are people with opposing viewpoints on that even. It's impossible to say you're all having a good day or a bad day, but yet someone is going to speak on behalf of everyone, right? If I ask you, hey chat, what's your favorite dessert? I love dessert. I'm a dessert fiend. I've eaten like 5 times as many desserts this past week as I probably should have. It's been my it's been something I've been doing. Is like yeah, it's temporary. You know, I'm going for a thing. I'm allowed to, but I love dessert. I am a big fan. But you know, if you ask me my favorite dessert, I can give you. Or if you ask me what desserts I love, I can say like carrot cake, and you know that. I can tell you donut. I had a brioche donut. It was really good this last weekend. I had a croissant that blew my mind. And I can say like, oh yeah, I love me some good dessert. But if individually, someone might say, okay, tell me your favorite dessert, chat. Tell me your favorite dessert. Well, collectively, we're gonna work this one out, okay? You might think that's not possible, but let me tell you how it is. My favorite dessert is a dessert. Everyone's favorite dessert would have to be a dessert, therefore we'd have the famed desserts. Ace. You worked it out. Donut and cupcakes are great, says Holly Caps Heron. See, and that's the 3rd message I've read from Holly Caps Heron, and so you know that her response is now canon. Yeah, red velvet and Oreo cake, says Xavier. I used to like red velvet, but I've looked into it, and I think it's just red chocolate cake. I like chocolate cake. Don't get me wrong. I just would like my chocolate cake to be honest with me. I felt like red velvet was meant to be a new flavor. Like there's a red velvet Ben & Jerry's ice cream. There's red velvet cupcakes. There's all these red velvet flavored things. But if, you know, like, is it just red looking chocolate? It's ridiculous. Or actually, sorry, chat has decided right now, sticky toffee pudding. Pickled Witch, on behalf of chat, you have decided that sticky toffee pudding is in fact what you guys like. I like sticky toffee pudding. You collectively have a great taste. I'm really proud of you. Keep it up. Keep doing your best because you're clearly doing a wonderful job at it. But do you see how do you see how, like, I can't try and answer something like that collectively, but actually I sort of just did. It's not a true collective answer. It's not the collective truth, but it is a collective answer. It's one of the interesting things we have to do at so many points upon our, like, societal axis is come to collective decisions on things we all disagree about. If you think about the way politics is on a base level, basically any single policy question people disagree with on such a huge spectrum of disagreement too. Like there are people. It's not just like, oh yeah, if you ask some people how do they feel about that big conflict that's going on right now, and some people go like, oh, I'm on these guys' side, I'm on these guys' side. That's a big disagreement. There are millions of people that feel genuinely the opposite of each other. But then there are people that feel like incompatibly opposite. Like, oh, yeah, in that conflict, I actually disagree with the idea of violence. And so I am anti, you know, like, it's like, okay, so some people are anti-violence, and some people say, I disagree with, you know, the notion that we're not using nuclear weapons right now. I think we should just be dropping those. I don't care where, I don't know how, and like trying to balance those opinions together with people who also have conflicting views. It's really, really tricky. Have you ever tried to, I think the low-level version of this is, have you ever tried to get a group of people, let's say like 5 people together, have you tried to get people to go out to like, work out what people want to go out to eat, right? It's, the right thing to do, logically speaking, is you ask like, what does everyone want to eat? And then you average out the response and you get something. But there's like 2 problems. One is that people, oh, I'm mining some blocks I shouldn't be. Oh, that's a big problem. Also, I don't have a gold helmet on me. Probably should switch back out to one of those. Yeah, I think that my daughter made a delicious apple crisp yesterday, says Bird for Life. I want to know what an apple crisp is, and then I want one. Why don't I have an apple crisp right now?
Hey Toy Cat, hope you're well.
Thank you, Chris H. I've been doing pretty well recently, actually. I think my biggest thing is I'm like stressed because I'm going away, and I always have this thing of like, most people, I used to be pretty good at this when I was like regularly traveling, but I feel like normally when you got a job, you either have time off or you don't. But with YouTube, it's like you never really have time off, right? Like it's Christmas Day. Why aren't you uploading? It's you know, like you know, some big tragedies just happen. Why aren't you uploading? And that's not like it's not that there's a person that asked you that. It's that there is a, you know, you don't get, it's like, I don't know, you don't get paid for times you're not working, and that's kind of expectable. And most self-employed people are like, okay, so you gotta earn enough during the times that you are working to cover the times that you're not, and that's fine and okay. But what happens when the amount you get paid is variable and you can't control how much you're getting paid when you're working? And also, what if the amount that you get paid goes down if you don't work at least a little bit some amount of time? Because in the context of YouTube, it's like, yeah, if you don't upload for a year, you've basically just given up 70% of your subscribers. Maybe more, maybe less, depending on how well you do it. Obviously, a year is a lot longer than a vacation, a holiday. But I think that's like my biggest prevailing emotion. It's like, okay, I've got lots to do, but I'm getting a lot better. One of the things that like I'm changing as with age is like acknowledging like I can do a certain amount, and if I try to get myself to do more than that certain amount, I get really stressed and do none of it. I have too much to do, and so I'll do nothing. And so it's like, okay, the most productive way to be is to be realistic with targets. Try, you know, like, I don't know, like pushing yourself is great, but if you push yourself the right amount, you'll do wonderful. A crisp is like a fruit dressed in sugar and some seasoning and put in a pan and topped with sugar oatmeal crust. You know, actually, that doesn't actually sound as good. I'd love to try one. But I'm not excited anymore. You know, I'm not sad that my daughter's not making me an apple crisp. Also, yeah, I think Christmas Eve, 17-hour live stream of 100 days, says Tasting Confused. Oh, yeah. Oh, God. You don't give me flashbacks. The only good part of that 17-hour stream was the fact that it did, in fact, go off. I did get my 100 days in, and the fact that I got a kebab. I remember that kebab being the most nourishing piece of food I've ever eaten. It was, I was in this chair, I was eating it, and it was my Christmas, it must have been Christmas Day, technically, by that point. It's just an apple crumble with a different name. Okay, I want an apple crumble again, then. I'm in. I was so excited for that live stream, says Xavier. That's fun. You know, I always have, it's weird with live streams. There's some number of people here, right? Like, this is the chat problem. Chat, you're all here today, as you usually are. Chat shows up to everyone on my live streams, and I appreciate that. But the people in the chat are different, right? And so it's cool to me that there are people here today that appreciated that live stream when it was happening. But also, it doesn't feel correct. It feels like, oh, wow, yeah, that's, I just assume there's such a high turnover, or like, there's not necessarily turnover, but, which, by the way, another dessert, we're gonna keep on. Should we just talk about everything I want to talk about today through the lens of dessert? You know, I think I'd like to do that. Yeah, so I think I really would like to, you know, if I could say so myself, to avoid my topic crumbling apart. I think it's only fair. Okay, so we're gonna start loading up these chests with all of the netherrack, Because later we can move it into shulker boxes, and this way it's a little bit safer. Because this part of the cave is perfectly lit. Or is it a cave in the Nether? Like, I know it's a Nether cave, but like, I feel like there should be a word for it. There definitely should. Also, I really enjoy spending a part of my holiday here with Toycat and Toychat. Hey, Jamie, you're on holiday. Where are you at? What's the holiday like? Is it going well? Mojang should give us an ice cream golem. Oh no, you're making me destroy my own tunnel. Oh no, oh not a gar. I spent so long on this tunnel and you can't do this to me, Gas. It's not okay. Anyway, so oh, my tunnel. You know how annoying that is to fix? Do you know how annoying that is? I'm gonna have to come back with some packed ice. And, yeah, I think if I don't have the big... I need some packed ice and I need some buttons, right? I need something to prevent that happening again. Is this blue ice or packed ice? Because if it's blue ice, we might have to go some real distance to work on it. Which I was on holiday doing my teaching placement. That's why I'm up early enough to catch a stream. It's so funny to me that it's early for you, Claudia. We just went through daylight saving times in the UK. Yesterday, 1 AM happened twice. I was up last night with some pain. Like, you know, like I had some nighttime pain. And, so I was there like trying to sleep. And I got to experience 1 AM twice. Which is like an underrated benefit of like a broken sleep schedule, right? If you know, if everything goes well for you, people wake up and they're like, oh, it feels like an hour earlier, but I can't really be sure. But if you're up the entire time, you see 1 AM. It's hard. Oh, so by the way, sorry about Mum. Bring back the wheel tomorrow. I turn 45. Well, wait. Okay, bring back the wheel tomorrow. You turn 35. Is that like 4 separate thoughts, right? Just to try and analyze this as one collective. So I'm gonna like close this off right here because I don't really like it that much, and it's not that many blocks, so it's quite easy to do. But yeah, no, don't worry about the thing. You know, actually, you know, don't worry about it. Feels a bit wrong, but I think it's a, I think I'm at the point now where I'm like, okay, it's over, it's happened. It's you know, like I guess everyone goes through lots of different feelings all the time. Didn't 12:59 happen twice? Did it? Wait, did I not experience both 1 AMs? Oh no, I think. You know what, maybe that is true. It usually is that it's 12:50. It's 12 AM, you know, at 1 AM it goes back to 12 and you get it again. But I think this time it was 1 AM to 2 AM happened twice. I believe so. So there's a lot of weird, also, why don't we as a society schedule everything around when the sun is up instead of the same time that doesn't account for the winter? Yeah, so actually, you know, can be, if you want to know a fun fact, we actually used to have like local time where like midday didn't used to be like a fixed in stone concept. It was whenever the sun is its peak, that's midday, and every clock was kind of based on that in some way. Obviously, when like places start getting connected and people would go from town to town, the problem of like the time had to be solved because like trains need timetables and blah 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 blah. But the I do think that we could go back basically to a more useful model of time by saying now that we have global time, now that we've got that concept, let's just all admit like, okay, we want to be out during certain hours of sunlight. So rather than pretending the time has to change to make that make sense, both with time zones and daylight savings, you can eliminate both those things if you just say, yeah, 4 AM, so let's say it's 8:46 PM in the UK, which is the central time zone, but we'll just make up a time zone right now. We'll use Tokyo time. Everyone loves the Japanese, no one hates the Japanese. So we'll say like, yeah, in Japan right now, it is, it's 4 AM. It's 4:47 AM. If it was 4:47 AM here, like let's say I shift my clock 8 hours forwards, right? Let's imagine that I do that. I don't suddenly need to go to sleep, right? I would say, oh, well, it's 4:46 AM. I'm not going to go to sleep because I am not tired because it's, you know, the sun only went down 2 hours ago, you know, hypothetically. And so if we just, I think what we could all collectively do is just say, if we want more daylights, you know, in our time, we don't have to switch the clock back. Because, by the way, this was the first year where I had to physically adjust the clock. I've got clocks that determine when my hot water turns on and off. because I've got direct electric water. Bad system, by the way. Don't recommend it. When looking into purchasing a house, make sure you don't get. Make sure you know how water is heated up, because it costs you a lot of money, especially if there's any wars going on in Eastern Europe. But yeah, also I'm gonna go get some ice now, I think. Actually, I'll bring back I'll go for an inventory full of netherrack, then go get the ice. I gave up on the oven clock. Oh yeah, like oven clocks are the dumbest thing to care about. Like oven clocks don't work, but my water timer.
Yes, good toy cat. Stop burning yourself out and crashing. Society encourages this, but it is not a fun or healthy way to live. Fire, slow and steady really does win the race. Turtle, gassed stink.
Does slow and steady win the race? Or does slow and steady just make you a more pleasant person to be around? That's something I'm trying to work out. Although ultimately, like, you know, in most professions, being pleasant to be around is being good at your job. Like if right now, you know, if I'm like, okay, I've really got to be working out how I'm recording. I've got to do the voiceover, my 1 block a day challenge I recently finished. But if I'm like, oh god, how am I gonna? There's a whole thing with that, and I don't know how it's gonna go. And okay, if I end the stream early, I could maybe do that. I think I'm gonna be less fun to be around, personally. You know, just in my opinion, than if I'm like, yeah, you know, whatever happens tonight happens tonight. And then the more, you know, like if I'm like, yeah, well tomorrow I can finish 2 things, and then the day after, you know, like if you start to look at things like that, maybe you could be a bit more productive. Also, this is a whole thing here, but I do think there is that's the funny thing, right? Is like your optimal ability to do things with your body is not the optimal way for your brain to be well-rounded. Like the way I've heard this described before is like there's like 3 things in life, and you're always making a trade-off between some of them. Like if you go extra hard on your health, you have to sacrifice time socially or at work. Or, you know, but I think family is a thing, but I think family and social is the same thing. Like people, work and health. They're like 3 things in your life. If you're doing really, really well on health, you know, like if you're going out on walks every day, it costs you a lot of time that you can't spend doing your job, hypothetically. Also, is this meant to be this high? I don't think it is. I think I made a mistake somewhere in here. Oh no, this is just unmined blocks. And so, yeah, there is there's this, like, eternal trade-off. If you want to spend more time with people you care about, if you're like, you know, a lot of people who, especially people who have kids, say this all the time. You know, if I had kids, I'd be making up excuses like, oh, yeah, sure, do have a busy day at work. Or I just have to go on a walk today. Oh, walking today instead, you know, I don't know, I'm making fun. But the idea, like, you can spend time with people, but then you're sacrificing time you could be working or working out. And, you know, like, I think ultimately, like, we claim there's, like, leisure time and work time, but we spend a lot of our leisure time doing things that are, like, of near universal importance in the same way work is. Like, yeah, work always feels different because there's, like, an element of force to it, right? Like, well, under a capitalist society, you're not free to just not work because, you know, even it's not just about whether you feel productive, if it's about, like, you don't get to pay your rent or your mortgage if you're not productive or something. Yeah, the struggle people always have is like, those are the 3 things. You only have so much time in a day, and to do all of those 3 things well, that was very scary, by the way. Doing all 3 of those things well, surprisingly hard. Okay, how are we gonna get out of here? I am gonna fly out. Also, slow and steady is the reason why some content creators get such quality videos. Definitely the opposite of YouTubers, such as LankyBox. I don't know who LankyBox is, or, you know, if you're right or wrong in your claims to their quality ratio. But what I do know, I think I'm gonna make this section here out of deep slate, by the way. Just, you know, just kind of keep the idea consistent. Like, have a little bit of deep slate in between the netherrack, so you can see when the tunnel's attached to nothing. That'd be a fun idea. But, yeah, sorry, as I was saying, I think that after a certain point of, actually, no, I want to take this idea straight on. So, as a YouTuber, I can say, though, a lot of people will say, like, oh, yeah, don't worry about it. You can just, you know, just make stuff at your own pace. It's like, but that's not how the payment end of it works. Like, you know, it's one thing. I guess the analogy would be, imagine if you work at a store, you're at Tesco every day, and then a customer comes in and says, oh, if you're not feeling up to work today, just go home. And you'd be like, oh, thank you, Grace, for telling me that. I will just go home. And it's like, no. The customer, you know, it's nice that the customer wants you to go home, but they're not the one that ultimately gets to decide. It's nice of them to be supportive. It's very nice for a customer, you know, your favorite customer at Tesco to say, you should go home. But, like, unless your manager or their boss or whoever, your HR people, unless it's approved time off, you can't just go home, right? In the same way, like, you know, imagine if your customer's like, oh, yeah, don't worry about coming into work tomorrow. If you do extra good work on Friday, you don't need to come into work tomorrow. It's like, okay, but I'm gonna have to run that through with my boss because I can't just not show up to work because you said so, you know? And so, like, it's also a little bit like, even on if you ignore the dynamics of, I guess, power is what I'm kind of saying, or like the chain of command, the high authority in there, something. I think there's also an element of like, yeah, the optimal way to do something. People always say, like, I don't know, a great example of this is when it comes to like, basically anything that you consult people on. Actually, this brings me nicely back to, have you ever tried taking a group of people out to eat somewhere? What ends up happening if you've never been in charge of this? You should feel envious. So like again, I usually try not to be the person who takes charge. I like to watch these dynamics happen, or at least I've seen it enough times in my life. You know, I now will try and be that person when I feel that person is needed. But basically what happens is someone says like, oh yeah, so what does everyone want to eat? And you try to, it's the logical thing when you've got a question where people have preferences to ask everyone their preferences and then to try and like average it out, right? And be like, okay, well these people want this and these people want this. You know, 5 people want to go out for Indian, 3 people want to go out for pizza. Let's go out for Indian, I guess that would be. Oh, but 3 people are allergic to Indian, and that's why they want pizza. Whereas the 5 people who want Indian like pizza just as much. It's just, you know, they had pizza 3 days ago. And so it's like, well, I think being allergic is a higher priority than, as an example for it. But, you know, what actually happens in reality is people don't even work that, you know, the reason I have to refer to as chat, you know, the 90% of you aren't talking right now, by the way. You know, that's fine, I want to mention. But as a great example, if you ask 8 people, what do you want to do for food? Like, 4 people, you know, you're not going to pick out a gender, but who knows which gender it is that is more likely to just be like, oh, anything's okay, actually. And then you tell them a place, and they're like, no, not that, actually. Now, I thought I was okay with anything, but now that I've had something picked out, no, actually, doesn't sound very good. And so, yeah, I think that's basically what ends up happening, is, if you know, like, you think that you're, you try to balance out the preferences there. You try to, also, sorry for not talking, Mr. Catlol. It's okay, Scoopski. You know, I know that you're, I think not talking is very reasonable in this case. Like, I think a lot of people aren't here to have a social experience. They're here to watch a man talk and play Minecraft. And, you know, to those people, thank you. You're the reason that I can buy donuts and croissants and brioche filled, you know, you're the reason I can buy nice pastries. Anyway, so ibxtoycat accurately describes a woman. No, we can do anything. Yeah, I'm good with anything. Oh, but not that though. Like, obviously we can't do that. Like, you know, what I think it usually means, like, is when someone says, like, I'm good with anything, is oftentimes that means, like, I have something very specific in my head, but I don't want to seem like I'm being, like, needy by asking for it. So I'm just not going to say anything and hope that you pick it, and I can say, yeah, that sounds great. Let's go there. That sounds wonderful. Sorry, again, apologies. Anyway, the point here is to say, you are my work buddy. It's lonely here, says Mad582. You know, you would be mad, 582, to not realize that having a work buddy is important. I'm glad we go to work together. It's fun. You know, it's I hope you're having a good time. Oh, short. Let me do some work conversations. Or boss sure is a hard ass, huh? And you know, they don't pay me enough for this one. And did you hear about what happened from Carol from HR? Anyway, the point is to say that, like, so if you even just like trying to work out where you want to eat, it's like that level of complex. How are you going to work out much bigger things? And so one of the biggest examples of this, I would say, is content creators and their subscribers more broadly. Like, you can see it in the chat here too, but like, use this example. If you ask your subscribers what do they want from you, most people genuinely don't know what they want until they're presented with it. And I don't think that's a flaw. I'm not like, I feel the same way. I load up my YouTube homepage, and there's a video on there that I didn't know that I wanted to watch, but now I see it, I desperately do. That's why people like YouTube, you know, like social media algorithms, even though they basically decide what we watch for us, is because they find things that we want to watch that we would have never thought that we wanted to watch ourselves. Which is incredible when you really start to break that down and think about that a little bit more, right? Like, there is a machine that knows what YouTube videos I'd enjoy. By the way, Scoopsky Cat, thank you very much for becoming a member. This is above my pay grade. People love to say that one too. It's true. Oh yeah, I for some reason, it annoys me. A lot of people who are like working jobs where they like want to have like someone to blame are like, oh, the bean counters have been at it again. Like any accounting efficiency in a business is seen as counting beans. Why do they count beans? If they, you know, it's for you. They're counting money is what they're counting. Money does not come in a format of beans. Anyway, so yeah, people don't know what they want. And so in the case of a content creator, you would figure, if you were trying to cater to your subscribers the best, which, you know, I think, if I'm being honest, that is a large part of what my job is on the internet. If you're, like, it's all about doing the things I want to do most. If I'm being realistic, instead of trying to cater to the bulk of subscribers I have, something I've always said that I do is I'm like, what videos would me want to watch? What videos do I enjoy? What do I enjoy in a YouTube video? How do I how do I make that for other people? That has worked out so much better for me than actually trying to take the big collection of people here together, the Jeff Shannons, the RTs, the Ratatouilles of the world. Good name, by the way, Ratatouille. But rather than trying to, like, actually sum up and average all of these opinions together, it's so much easier just to try. You need to have some guiding principle, because people's opinions, again, not only do people not know what they want until they're presented with it, which is a huge problem in and of itself, a lot of people are for things. People will say they like things that they actually don't, because we have to prove, like, for all sorts of status reasons. And so I don't know, an example of this would be, people will say stuff like, oh yeah, what is everyone for? If you know, like, I think Coke is a good example of this. Like, oh yeah, so do you guys want it so that, like, you know, Coke bottles are fully recyclable and blah 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 blah, blah whatever? And everyone say, yeah, why wouldn't you want that? And then they're like, okay, so here's the trade-off. Now the cap doesn't come off the bottle. And people are like, no, if it was recyclability or a very mild inconvenience to my life, of course I'm picking no mild inconvenience to my life. And it's like, but that was obviously a trade-off in some point. By the way, first dono ever in general, and it's going to you. Love the content, says Ethan Plays 21. Oh wait, Ethan Plays 211. You know what? Ethan Plays 21-1, if you will. Ethan Plays 211. Oh, was there 210 other Ethan Plays? It's crazy to me if there's a Z on there too. Or is 211 like a special number? Thank you very much for the tip. I really am honored when people say stuff like that. Like, you know, like first tip on any stream ever. I think a lot of people have this, like, impression in their mind of what it means to be someone who tips on streams, right? Like, oh yeah, that's like, those are the people who are like this, you know, like they have some mentally imagined image. And so I think, like, getting over the barrier is actually quite hard. And so I want to say thank you for jumping over that barrier, and thank you for doing it for me. I really appreciate it, Even Plays. Hope you're doing wonderfully. Yeah, community reactions to Minecraft updates be like, says KMB. Yeah, so Minecraft updates are another classic example of this, maybe the most classic example. Ask people, okay, I'm gonna go on a rant about this right now. I'm gonna upset 500,000 people who signed a petition. But if you ask a large number of people, 500,000 people who signed a petition, what they want, they will say, we want Mojang not to do mob votes anymore. The thing that would make them happiest is if Mojang stopped mob votes, because they see mob votes in their minds not as getting a brand new mob every year, but instead Mojang taking two things they would have added to the game and discarding them. And from that perspective, of course, yeah, like, who is in favor of Mojang not adding two mobs to the game? You know, like, it's, obviously, it seems, it's ludicrous. No one's in favor of that, I would assume. And so, yeah, the idea is that everyone is against removal of mobs from the game. But actually, the success condition they've set on there is that they would like, they would like Mojang to stop doing the mob vote. And so, there's only two things that can realistically happen. One of those is just there is not a mob vote, that result in their success, right? And the realistic one is, yeah, next year we just don't have a mob vote. And they would be like, yeah, we're getting free mobs this year. But Mojang could easily not have a mob vote and then not add free mobs to Minecraft. In fact, wait, if you want some proof about this, if you want some proof about this, go back to the first year, but I think it would have been 1.12 maybe, the year of the first mob vote with the 4 mobs, mob A, B, C, D. They didn't add 4 mobs to the game the year before that. It's very, very rare to find that there is an update or a year where they added 3 or 4 mobs. And it's like, well, yeah, because it's not that they're taking content and putting some of it behind the vote. It's that they're having to create extra content for the vote. But that's really, really hard to understand. And you'd figure, like, well, if you're making it for the vote, you could make it anyway. And that's, yeah, like, okay, yeah, actually, why don't they just do that? And it's like, well, because they allocate a certain amount of time from their regular development cycle, basically. What it actually is we give up a Minecraft feature every year so that we can have a mob that people vote on. That, to me, is the outrageous part of the mob vote, is that there are limited resources, and every year we spend some of those resources on the alley or on the sniffer. The sniffer. And we're gonna spend some of those valuable dev resources, which could be put into some, like, actually good feature on an armadillo. That should be the outrageous bit. If anything, they should do a mob vote and then say, haha, yeah, well, we're not going to add any of the mobs, because they're all terrible. That's my, not very good ideal. Anyway, so, yeah, they're not adding free mobs next year, sorry to tell you. It's, that's the point, right, is, so until people are confronted with reality, their ideas are different. And that is a whole big problem, because you use ideas to work out what should be made into reality. But if people aren't reasonable with their ideas, then it's like, so how do we work out what it just doesn't work then, huh? That's just fine. Let's grab a new pickaxe, by the way. So the Minecraft community is toxic, says Hexaterum. I actually don't think so. I think there's like This is toxic might be even the word to describe what I'm about to say. But I think I want to grab some deep slate when I'm here, by the way. Right after I load up some of my netherrack into wherever we're going right now. So by the way, the reason I'm doing this big tunnel is because I'm taking all the netherrack I get and I'm building one of these. It's very, very, very big. It's got a lot of netherrack right now. It's got a lot of work that needs to be done still, though. And so is there netherrack in here? There's not. Let's fill it with some of these. And wonderful. Okay, so speaking of things that are wonderful, and we'll take the second netherrack box, place it down right there too, and then at some point we'll come back here and we'll start placing even more. The netherized overworld is coming along. It's definitely coming along. So I've been having weird stuff coming in and out of the nether, especially if I get killed by a mob in the process. I get stuck. Stuff won't load. I've even gotten into feedback loops. Yeah, the nether's been especially broken for me recently. Same with the game loading up and down. I think the most recent bug fix might have brought in some bugs that are unintentional. It's always the curse of Minecraft updates, is like, every bug fix has a chance of also introducing bugs. You know, I thought you were meant to fix the bugs, not introduce them. But toxic just means I don't like the sound of that these days. To me, I would describe toxic as... So again, you know, if you... In the case I said earlier, if you ask someone, oh yeah, what do you want to eat? You know, and that person says, oh yes, what I would like to eat is aubergine sandwiches. It's not useful to say that, because where am I going to find you an aubergine sandwich? Sorry, wait. To translate for my international viewers, eggplant. Or I'll just pick a different vegetable. I want a pickled egg sandwich. That's what I want in my life. I want eggs pickled. It's like, I don't know that we can find that, but at least they're being honest about what they want. To me, toxic is when people say stuff like, what I want for lunch is I want world peace. And you're like, I don't think I can find world peace for lunch. And they're like, oh, you hate world peace, do you? You hate world peace. Okay, yeah, that's great. Look at Mr. Hates World Peace over here. And you're like, you can't say that you just want world peace. Tell me what you really want to do for lunch. You're like, no, anything you get me for lunch will be worse than world peace. And it's like, okay, no world peace. I'm like, fine. If I really can't have world peace for lunch, if you really insist on being this way, so ridiculous of you, by the way, don't pretend this is on me. But if you're going to be like this, and I can't have world peace for lunch, then I guess if I really have to be compromising on my values here, I guess I could take eternal happiness. And you're like, could you just tell me something that you really want for lunch then? They're like, okay, it has to be a food now, does it? Oh, you really need food for lunch? Okay, then. What I want as my food is I want raw human, but I want it to taste like, pizza. I want raw human tasting like pizza. You're like, that's illegal. It's like, oh, it has to be legal food. Wow, you're so lazy. You're not even gonna find me a Cannibal Underground ring. I feel like constructive is when someone says like, like even if you're like, yeah, I want world peace for lunch, and someone goes, you can't have world peace for lunch.
Toxic is that thing where you take double the poison damage each turn you are afflicted by it.
Fusion Warrior, you're not wrong. Also, I was trying to get ice. That's what I was there for, damn it. My bad. Also, thank you, Fusion Warrior. Good to see you. Hope you're doing wonderfully today. So the interesting thing about, so the toxicity thing is like, obviously, no one wants someone to be like that. I think it probably goes without saying. However, okay, we're gonna start building some stuff here, by the way. So this is 3 blocks down. So we remove that block, and then we remove these blocks. And then after we remove these blocks, we're gonna have to start placing our own, it looks like, to start filling some of the voids so that it all comes together. Yep, that's just how this one works. And slowly but surely, we'll have a little deep slate section filled in here. And then that way I can put some doors there or something and like let myself out if I need to in the future. But I think at least knowing where these things are will give me the option to start doing this stuff. Anyway, speaking of options, I think the constructive would be saying, I want world peace for lunch, and someone saying, okay, but I was thinking food, and you being like, oh, okay, well, if the options are food, then I would really like to have something like unique, something that really makes me feel, makes me feel like I've done something good for the world. So like, how about we go to like a soup kitchen? You come up with an idea yourself would be better. But even then, if like working with someone who is like trying to give you something is how you are constructive. But I guess the debate in a lot of commercial relationships is like, how much are you trying to give each other something versus how much are you like a lot of people take the nature of exchange as like exploitative in its very nature, right? There's the meme or whatever of like, there's no what is it? There's no ethical consumption under capitalism. But even beyond that, I don't think that's where people are coming from necessarily. But people take if you take an adversarial approach to anything, you can very quickly like game yourself out of doing anything productive. And so if you say like, okay, yeah, okay, so we have to place a block here and then there and then, okay, the rest of these aren't going to be easy to place either. Sadly, there's going to be a whole nightmare. And so I'm just not going to. That is my solution to this crisis. But yeah, it's if you get adversarial, you can very quickly get lose-lose situation. Even right now, right? You are giving me your time, and your time has some value. It's measured in fractions of %, but your time has value to me right now. Isn't it unfair that you're giving me your time, and I'm giving you a rant about, like toxicity and world peace? I should be talking about exactly what you want. And that, oh, you want world peace instead of a Minecraft live stream? That's pretty reasonable. If I'm going to take your money and give you only a Minecraft live stream instead of world peace, that's pretty terrible of me, huh? That's, I could do a lot better. And the kind of problem on that is there is a little bit of like, I don't know, there are so many situations of like corporations basically putting you in situations where they are effectively just kind of trying to screw you. And then that creates the situation I was talking about of identities, where people's identities becomes like, yeah, I am anti the people who are doing this. Very, very rational, reasonable identity, by the way. Let me just place a few blocks out. So yeah, it's 2 blocks going inwards, every one of these. And we can place those on the ground over here. Oh, except we can't over here. Okay. This is the problem with removing too many of these blocks too early, I guess. As we've run into a bit of a problem. But that's not a problem for me, I reckon. So then we'll place blocks down there, and that's also starting to fall apart. Okay, well we got the cobbled deep slate, the polished deep slate in there somewhere. And that's what really matters here. If we want to get back to mining, I think we just have to start tunneling right at it again. For as high up as we can. Right over here. Let's just get right back to mining. So, yeah, given that we've already hollowed out most of this section, let's follow this and make it much wider. And, oh god. Also, work on the walls of this thing. Yeah, given that we've got, like, this basic thing up there, we should make that much taller and much higher. Because it's easy to do the top of this, but not the bottom. So, we're going to go look up at the ceiling. And we'll see that that block there, we're going to expand that along the top. Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no. I'm falling down a lot. Okay, so to follow what I was saying there, everything besides these blocks... Actually, wait, that can't make any sense that the top is so tiny. Yeah, there must be a mistake in there somewhere. I'm gonna waste a whole getting down here for a second. I think people get passion toxicity mixed up because they think complaining equals bad all the time. There is such thing as constructive criticism, right? And there is such a thing as unconstructive positivity. A lot of people don't get that, but like you can be positive in a way that is quite a negative experience for people around you. So that block there, I don't know how to mark that block there in any way. Yeah, I'm gonna have to like bridge up to it maybe, and then start placing it around there, and then we'll do the same there. We'll remove that block, and then also that block, and then we place one more netherrack. I should have just used. It could have been so much easier if I'd have just used the thing. But then I'm gonna place one more of these, and there. And so now that is the top section. If I can just place one more of those. Probably go back this way. And then another block this way. There we go. So yeah, we've got the kind of top of this slowly coming together. And then all of the other blocks up here will be polished deep slate. Just so there is some fit. And now that will be 4 blocks, so it goes... I guess it's 5 blocks in each layer then, because that will be polished deep slate. Yeah, there we go. Okay, so we worked out the pattern. We're going to use polished deep slate to achieve it. And then that way we can always see where the top of this is, even when it gets confusing like this. By the way, I asked you last week what the next 1.21 features to come in snapshots with, and we got copper and tough blocks. What do you think's in the next one? By the way, I think, I could be wrong here, but I think I said it would be copper and tough blocks in the next snapshot, right? Just to confirm. You would know better than me since you asked. But yeah, if I was to guess the next snapshot, Wednesday the 2nd? The 1st? Wait, Monday is... Okay, Wednesday the 1st of November. If I had to guess these, my dream is that it is the trial chambers. I think it's more likely to be something more minor. It's going to be some other smaller mechanic. I think they're not going to go straight into trial chambers. If they did, they'd blow us all away, right? We'd be mind blown. We'd say, whoa, Mojang, can't believe you did this. But I think it's more likely to be something a little bit smaller. Anyway, so yeah, this is going quite well for me, by the way. I think this is a important little structure to have, and also will kind of just show that the tunnel continues. It's just I have to start building it in certain places. And that way I can keep my netherrack for the overworld, where it is incredibly important. Okay, so, yeah, Dash said toxic positivity is when someone says, like, oh yeah, just, you know, like, forget about your depression. Yeah, there's a thing, right, of there is an appropriate place and time for anything. And if you start using your anything in the wrong place, that's bad. If you, and, like, that is the weirdest, most nuanced thing about humanity. Is that the same thing that is horrific in one situation is perfectly acceptable in another. You know, you make a joke about, you know, killing babies. That's either a really funny, you know, 10 out of 10, everyone loves it, episode of a TV show, or that's a really inappropriate thing to say at a funeral. You know, like it's really, really hard to work out the context on that. But that's what we all are as humans. We're all just slowly trying to work out the world in which we live in. With pattern recognition machines, they have to work out really complicated patterns that decide that decide the difference between the same things being entirely okay and entirely horrifically offensive. So, Kat, I want to send you my belated condolences, says 1992 SFA. Thank you, man. I don't know what I meant to do. You know, okay, I'm going to ask you, just you, 1992 SFA, no one else. I do wonder what is the correct thing to say to a condolence. Like, at first I was like, okay, this is great. I can kind of take this how I want. I can ignore someone or say thank you. But, like, what's the, like, professional response to that? What's the, like, oh, yeah, I hear you loud and clear. Got your condolences. Appreciate it. Because I genuinely, I want to have, like, an autopilot response. You know how when someone says, how are you doing? You say, good, how about you? Like, if I was doing badly, I can think about that. But if I'm just trying to get the interaction through to the next step, you say, good, how about you? What's the equivalent of that for you know, like, for condolences, for someone you care about dying? It's something I gotta work on. My response was thank you, heart, a lot. Yeah, that's probably what I meant to be doing. Get a little heart in there, let people know, like, yep, your existence is appreciated. Try not to be too cold. That sounds like a good idea. Okay, you know what? 1992 SFA, thank you, heart. You eat babies, teenagers are a little tough, not as gamey, so I've heard. Why does professional speech inherently exist begin with, says E. Yeah, can I say this drives me crazy as someone who I don't do a lot of professional, like, or like, you know, legalese or like office talk. But the reason it exists is basically to clarify, like, your language can also convey your message. To explain what I'm talking about here, I will be very clear with everyone right now. You should go to ibxtoycat.store and pick up a great t-shirt, like literally just an ibxtoycat tee. By speaking in a different tone, it's clear that I'm talking, I guess I want to say instructionally, but I'm giving you, like, communication on what you need to do. Whereas this communication right here is in this tone because you can interpret this how you want. You can interpret this as, you can start hearing it in your own head. You can start thinking about it. You can choose to respond. You can let me keep going. Also, Bingo Bongo says, Never Portals. I miss Bingo Bongo. He left me the next day. I had a cat for a little bit. It was beautiful. I don't have a cat anymore, and I'm sad. I wish people would offer me condolences for that. You know, haven't had a single one yet. That's all I'm saying. Also, yeah, so the reason professional speech exists is basically tone. It's like you send a professional email to let someone know that you have a professional concern. I think, though, like, one of the things, realistically, you can get away with not using that professional tone. It just slightly affects people's opinion of you. You know, you can get away with, like, basically any rule that exists. It's like, it's not a hard set rule. It's just people will think differently of you if you do not follow that rule. Oh, man. Lava's just flowing everywhere today. Like, you know, you can joke about you know, killing babies at a funeral. There is a sort of a rule against it. It would usually be assumed. Okay, we got that. That's the lava finally gone, I think. Is there a lava lake here or something? Because I'm going for a lot. Yeah, it is. It's a whole. Oh no, it's a single lava source that's flowing through more places. So I have to go find the source of that lava and go cut it off there. Okay, sounds entirely doable. Entirely doable. So up here, maybe? Will we find it? Ah, there we go. Yeah, we removed this. No, it can't be that. Somewhere around here is a big source of lava. Maybe it's that? Yeah, it's probably this block right here. Let's go to the left over here. Let's go find out what's happening. And let's make sure that it's not happening anymore. Isn't it crazy the amount of damage that can be done with a single lava source? Which is now all gone, by the way. You were closer in that business language. Clarifies the message. Yeah, there's, I think there's a, like, when you're not talking business language with business people, it's a way of saying this is serious, personal, etc. But there's so much you gotta think about. Also, Seed Sunday is ready after the stream, says Harrison Gray. Oh, awesome! I'm glad to hear. I'm looking forward to people's reactions this week's Seed Sunday. I'm always trying to, like, work out, like, the... I would like to believe I'm always trying to make better videos, like, right? But, I think this week's Seed Sunday, I hope it fulfills the itch that people have in that way. Like, kind of tying the seeds together more in a fun way. Anyway, speaking of that, as in it's ready now, but we publishing after stream, says Harrison. Yeah, we'll publish after the stream. I'll make it like a fun thing. Like, as soon as the stream's over, you can go watch Seed Sunday all the way. Also, is nobody gonna wonder why he has a weird cat head, says Randall Purple Slime. So a lot of people have been saying, like, it's proof you're a furry. But, like, the real OGs remember that I use this for stream all the time. Sometimes you just want to look like a cat, you know? Also, if you're a furry and you wear masks like this, I'm very, very, very deeply concerned. Wait, I've got an idea. I'm a cat, as you can all see. But what if... Okay, I don't think this fits over my ears, but give me a second. Okay, I can't see anything. The eye holes don't line up with the eye holes. What do you reckon, chat? Is this... Am I a spooky cat? Am I gonna murder you all? Are you terrified right now? Anyway, spooky cat. Yeah, that with a turkey costume is all we need now. Why does that mask so closely resemble Bingo Bongo, says Harrison Gray? Yeah, I was thinking when I watched the, I watched Q&A Saturday back, like, the Q&A is one that is like a video that I give Harrison a lot of trust in it. I trust that he's gonna nail it. So I watch it after they're live, and one of the so I watched in this case the Q&A with the cat, and I was like, wait a minute, that mask is very similar. It genuinely looks like I found a mask of this random cat just to troll him, and the cat feels that way too. You can tell from the way he looks at me, like, why? Why have you done this? What about me made you decide that you were going to do this to me? And I think it's beautiful, personally. Okay, so this section of the tunnel is going to be real easy to lock down if we can just do that. So I'm going to continue the blocks up here in the pattern that they are. Just kind of leave a big thing running through here. Just so that I can work out... So this isn't at the end right now. It's kind of in the middle, honestly, confusingly. But just so we can work out exactly where this tunnel should go. And then we're gonna have it go all the way across that area. Again, so that if I want to go out, I can. But it doesn't need to be like a big open tunnel. Mostly because that's where ghasts will spawn. And I've learned today, if nothing else, ghasts are terrifying. Also, imagine someone interacting with you in an uncanny replica of your face. Yeah, it would be terrifying, right? You would jump and be pretty scared. You named the cat Bingo Bongo? Yeah, the cat's name is Bingo Bongo. I'm glad I woke up on the right side of the dirt, says Glint in the car. You know, I'm glad you did... Oh, get in the car, not Glint in the car. I feel like I misread your name last name, too. You should do a cat mask pigeon crossover segment, says Biggles McIntosh. I need to get a pigeon mask, Lily. That's what you're saying. I'm hearing it loud and clear. I don't know why I don't have a pigeon mask. It would make sense for me to have a pigeon mask. And yet, for whatever reason, I do not. Big missed opportunity, I agree. So I guess I'm going to tunnel out this area a lot. Maybe? I'm not even sure. It's hard to be sure about what to do here. Because there is a big, big, big open area here. That if I could, like, carve a tunnel downwards through, that could really help me with my kind of goals here. So let's do that. Let's just tunnel diagonally through this. If only because of the fact that it's going to give me some real handy... I think carving a tunnel through this will give me a slightly better elytra route when I come through here. But for now, I think the biggest improvement this tunnel needs is more ice. I've got all the space for it. I just don't have the actual ice itself. So I need to go and make sure I get that to make that happen. Also, I don't think the tunnel is perfectly lined up, or my tunneling is not lined up. It's one of the two. Opinions on the copper trapdoor recipe. 6 copper blocks for 2 copper trapdoors. Oh, I think it's one of the... I've got a thing on it soon. It's one of the dumbest recipes Minecraft has had. I would be shocked if they didn't change it, personally. I do think there are, I think there are other recipes that are wrong, but this is an example to me of, like, I think it's one of the most important things that needs to be changed, but because it's so obvious that it needs to be changed, I'm not giving feedback on it. Like, I think everyone looks at the copper trapdoor recipe and says, haha, okay, we'll wait till that gets fixed. But if no one says to Mojang that needs to be fixed, they're like, okay, it sounds fine to us. And so it's kind of tricky to, as a community, work out, like, what are our most important priorities? What priorities are so important that we say, yeah, we absolutely have to do this one? The answer is I have no clue. The answer is I have no real way of determining. It's just a fun thought question, isn't it? Let's place a bunch of blocks along here. And then remove a bunch of blocks that are more than 1 block away from that. Actually, wait, we're not going to remove that block there. We're going to build a block underneath that. Yeah, right. Any of the blocks that are underneath blocks that aren't going to be used are going to turn into... Yeah, we got this, I understand what I'm doing now, again. By the way, speaking of understanding what I'm doing, Fusion Warrior, my dream, breeze rods can be crafted into a sword or spear that does double damage versus fire enemies that kills magma cubes without splitting them. I think that wouldn't be thematic, right? I think if you had a water rod, you could use the water rod to make something that would be great against fire enemies. Like, I think if Mojang was smart, they could use the elementals kind of for that. Like, have it so that air is really effective against ground enemies, etc., etc. The breeze gives me Isology vibes for some reason. Yeah, I see that, Dasher, actually. Funnily enough, I didn't think about that till just now, but it's one of those things where as soon as you say it, you're like, yeah, actually, of course that's true. Of course, you know, I don't see how I didn't see it. I think that's what the key to, like, effective communication is. A lot of people believe that you can genuinely, like, shape someone's entire mind by, like, oh yeah, they read the wrong newspapers, or they followed an influencer and the influencer convinced them this. I think what it is like, almost everything that you learn when it comes to ideas like that are things you already believe, but someone is, like, telling you about. Like, if someone tells you about something that seems like something you already believe, that's, like, especially compelling. It's a really hard thing to do in the space of ideas, in my opinion. Also, there meant to be 2 blocks over here. It looks like they started appearing out of nowhere, only on this side of the tunnel. And so I'm going to go through and I'm just going to fix that. I'm just going to take any blocks which are taller than this and just get rid of them. They're not needed up there, and they confuse me, and so that is a good enough reason to not be here. You can still get radicalized, though, says Biggles Macintosh. Yeah, I think what radicalization actually is, though, is you can't take, you know, young, again, like, okay, imagine this. If there are some young, some 16-year-olds on YouTube, it's not the YouTube algorithm that decides whether they become radical, you know, communists or whether they become radical far-right people, right? It's that they already believe some things, and someone says the right things to them, and it moves their opinion very slightly because they find words for something that they previously didn't. Like, that's how we actually spread ideas. Like, we don't take people from here to over there with a really convincing one. If you genuinely believe that the mob vote is a way of Mojang getting to do less work because they cancel 2 of the votes, I will not convince you. The only thing I could convince you is like, okay, so in a world where Mojang is lazy, we have to accept that that's true to have any chance of communication. In a world where Mojang's lazy, if they're not doing a mob vote, aren't they just using the opportunity to be even lazier? Right? Like, I think you can't, in general, you can't take someone from like a opposite premise to theirs and take them anywhere useful. Is 16 years so young though? And so, yeah, YouTubers tried to show me Andrew Tate nonsense before, but I just ignore it. I pick a ToyCat video instead, and that seems to battle it. But that's a good example, right? Is like, if you watched the Andrew Tate video, you wouldn't be like, I hate women. Oh, right, not I hate women. Let's be more, that's a bit of a straw man. You wouldn't be like, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to run a brothel in a you know, less than above board country where I hope the police won't find me. And I'm going to start making YouTube videos and I'm going to tell people what they got so wrong. It's like, you know, I don't know. Also, how come some people convert religion twice then, says Biggles McIntosh. See, that is an interesting example, right? Some people, I think if you've converted religion before, you're actually way more likely to be converted again. And that's because you're thinking about, say, Islam and Judaism or Mormonism and Hinduism as being genuinely opposites, because from a religious point of view, they might be. Also, I love that you can crawl now. It's very silly. Yeah, I'm going to try and find some ice. I bet there's some actually in this side of my world. Let's see if we can do it. But yeah, people think about these things as being opposites, but they're actually, if you are a religious person, religious enough to want to follow a religion, then which one of those religions is a very narrow band of human thought? In the same way, you know, in the same way that you might think of, like, if you look at the community that we're in right here, there's Java players and Bedrock players, right? And they are opposites to each other. And it's like, no, we play the same Minecraft. We have a very slight disagreement on how to play it. It's the slight disagreements that always result in the biggest conflicts. So again, to use an even crazier example, even more than just religions, which are already quite similar, within just religions alone, if you are a Catholic or a Protestant, will determine whether people want to kill you in Northern Ireland. If you are a Sunni Muslim or a Shia Muslim, I can never even really, I've looked up the difference so many times, but it's so minor to me that it doesn't store in my brain. But it's a very big deal. That's me saying something offensive to say it's a minor difference. But like, if you're on a different branch of the same Muslim tree, then you should not talk to people on the other branch. I have a relative who's going through that. The shifting branch very slightly from one tree to another is a big no-no. And so, yeah, it's incredibly interesting. Also, we're gonna, where would we keep our ice? I guess we have an ice chest. By the way, speaking of ice, lag is great. Long time, no see handsome. I'm writing this while still on the toilet. Thank you, lag is great. I'm glad that I hope you're having a good toilet break. I know not all toilet breaks go well, but I hope that yours does. Should we use packed ice instead of blue ice? I mean, I guess if we're building a tunnel of this caliber, it'd be silly not to use blue ice, right? Yeah, I think, okay, we'll bring some packed ice. We'll compact it down into blue ice, though. Actually, I think it might all be packed ice already, just because I need to use so much of it. I know ToyCat videos are a gateway drug into buying ToyCat many kebabs and doing many Minecraft slow runs. Or maybe that's just a thing specific to me. You know, ToyCat, not even once, I believe is what they say. Yeah, the fact is that people already have a fairly narrow range, and you can move them within that range if you're really convincing, but you don't alter a person. I think this is why, this is like one of the messy things about like justice too as a whole, is like, if people can only change so much, it means that you have to have a justice system that kind of like caters to that. Also, is this packed ice, do you think? No, it's blue ice all the way through. Oh, Jesus. Okay, I need so much blue ice. I don't know where I'm going to get all this blue ice from. But we'll craft some right now. I got 28 of it, so it's not much, but it's a good start. Do you think I switched at some point, or do you think it's blue ice all the way through? It's going to be an insane tunnel when it's done, I've got to say. But also, like, well, this is ridiculous. My girlfriend has finally accepted my love for Minecraft. You know, she wasn't your girlfriend before, now she is. Now that she accepts you for who you are, now you can say you're officially man and girlfriend. Anyway, the torches melt ice to make water and floating torches. That might be a problem that we'd run into. Speaking of problems we've run into, the scary thing about what that means is it's like, yeah, we like to believe that, again, just someone else is responsible. It's easier to be like, oh yeah, well, big news source, you know, the men with the Bugattis of the world are controlling us all. And although, you know, some part of that is true, it's like, what the real problem is in that is like, yeah, people are choosing to listen to these sources. That's a much bigger problem than just saying like, oh, it's the source itself that's bad. It's rock and roll that's dangerous. It's like, no, rock and roll is not dangerous. No matter how much people would love to paint themselves into that corner, it's tricky. Anyway, so I blame TNN, the Toycat News Network, for radicalizing my kids to commit arson. Yeah, I guess in one way it's nice that people take the indirect step of saying it's not that you're stupid and your beliefs are wrong, it's just you've been watching too much of the wrong news. Like, I think you watch too much left-wing news, and so you're stupid. I think you watch too much right-wing news, and that's why you think the economy would be best fixed by, you know, like, getting in there and, you know, lowering and whatever the differences are in economic views. Like, I think it can be really, really easy to jump into opinions like that. Also, yeah, I think I'm gonna get a full inventory of netherrack and then go back to the overworld, and specifically maybe go mine a little bit of blue ice from my my blue iceberg area. I don't know, where should I get blue ice from, chat? Do I have to go find a whole new iceberg? Because I really have mined mine basically to oblivion. I really can't overstress that. It's basically gone. It's just not there really anymore. Okay, so before I mine the last of these blocks, wait, these blocks are just one, so we're going to place blocks under the ones next to them, just so that this whole tunnel works a little bit easier. Yep, okay, looks great. And then when there aren't blocks there, we are going to place the blocks there. Wait, no, there's going to be a block. Oh, okay, hello, friends. You doing good? I'm doing good, too. Thank you for asking. Gotta say, there's a real benefit to just going ahead, maybe bringing a gold armor with you to the nether. Might save you something terrible happening. It might just. As a society, economically, we're very right-wing, says Big Lord McIntosh. See, that's an opinion that someone at some point has dropped onto you. That there is such thing as objective left-wing or right-wing views. Whereas, in reality, the term left-wing comes from I think it's from the 18th century France. Oh, okay. Yeah, the reason we call people left-wing when they are, you know, when they have views that are left-leaning, the reason that we describe one side as left and one side as right, like, think about it. Where does it come from? Like, it's, and it's solely because of where French MPs would sit during 1800s France, and the socialists just so happened to sit on the left. But, like, you're probably not an 18th century French socialist if you're left-wing. There's not an objective left-wing and right-wing. You know, what would the French socialists think about mobile phones in schools? What political opinion do you have if you think one way or the other on that? It's like it's a ridiculous notion to say that everything fits into like some objective scale. And so instead, either you admit that there's like a relative scale, like most people do, or you can even say that like, yeah, it's all relative, not to current societal views, but it's relative to current society. You could make an argument that you know, that the center of the political spectrum is saying absolutely nothing should happen ever. You could make an argument that, like, actually, yeah, if nothing happens, if things stay how they are, that's actually really economically right-wing, and so blah, 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 blah. Also, you can try mining an entire Frosted Peaks mountain, or whatever it's called. Do they have any blue ice on them, Dasher? I would love to be wrong, but I feel like they don't. And if I am incorrect, I would be excited. But that's... I don't think that they do. But am I wrong? Would love to know. So, there's a block over there. And then there's also a block over here. And a block over there. And then also a few of those there. And now we can get back to the tearing up the cave as we mine. Because we can destroy all of these blocks up. Or maybe we shouldn't. Yeah, it's kind of hard to work out what to destroy and what not to. That's why you've got to be careful on these things. Anyway, I think ice spikes is great for getting ice. But I think you get packed ice. And you need 9 packed ice for every regular ice. Whole thing. Maybe we should go to a Frozen Peaks. It'd be fun to find her. See if we can find a decent mountain to tear to the ground. Also, I don't like how many of these guys there are. They're spawning in random little blocks, making my life just a little bit more tricky than it needs to be. And I don't love them for that. So, Frozen Peaks have glashes of packed ice with occasional blobs of regular ice. Okay, so it's regular ice, not... that's all good. I politically identify as a steering wheel because the rich people tell me where to go. Anyway, I think that the important thing to say here is also what's your favorite build in your world? Says Buster. That's a good question. You know, moving off the topic of socialism in the Nether, which by the way has never backfired on me once. Don't know why we'd assume that it had. Obviously, it does not ever, and will not ever backfire. But yeah, my favorite build in the world clearly is the giant statue of Toycat that sits in the spawn. It's beautiful. It's beautiful. Also, Fusion Warrior, I watched too much
Star Trek, so I work not for the accumulation of wealth or property, but instead for the betterment of myself and humankind.
There is a really interesting, like, point in that, right? Is that how do we all do best for the world? Like, there's a certain point in life where you don't get to ask those questions. Like, in a way, a certain amount of philosophy, a certain amount of, like, logic and ethics and stuff is coming from this, like, well, we have this, like, excess capacity. How do we use it in the most fair and just way? And I've always, like, liked it on... I've always liked the discussion on some angle. But also kind of can acknowledge, like, yeah, actually, you know, like, accumulation of wealth is, like, one goal to have, and, you know, what does it ultimately do? But actually, rather than trying to accumulate your wealth and that being the big goal, maybe instead of that, you know, like, I think it's a compelling argument to say, what if instead of having more money, you know, like, because every year you make a certain amount, and if you're lucky, that amount is more than you spend. What if you try to spend more money on things that did good things? You know, like, it used to be the model was that when you got really, really, really rich, you know, if you ever made a huge amount of money, you then did something philanthropical for society. Like, you know, even in days before we had progressive taxes or taxes at all, people who were on, like, the extreme end of the wealth accumulation, at some point in their life decided, like, okay, yeah, at this point, I'm just gonna, you know, like, it doesn't make sense for me to have any more money, so I'm just gonna go ahead, and I'm gonna start, like, I'm gonna give my whole life collection to the public. Anyone can come tour my home, or, you know, there'd be a lot of stuff like that. Like, I'm gonna make an art museum, I'm gonna make a fund. One of the weirdest things to me, if anyone can understand this, it only happens in the US, But there's this concept of like millionaire or billionaire funded scholarships. Do you know why that is? Like, a girl I used to know, I haven't spoken to in a very long time. Maybe for some good reasons. But a girl I used to know had a scholarship. She had her entire college course paid for, and all she had to do was keep someone happy, and that person was very wealthy. And I don't understand. Like, maybe she's, you know, like, maybe she's actually telling me something oldest profession in the world. But I believe what she was talking about is, like, you know, the concept of, like, grants, scholarships. I don't understand it. Andrew Carnegie, another good Andrew. I don't understand, though, like, is it just, like, yeah, we pay for higher education for people? And if so, how do they decide on the people? Do they get some benefit? You know, like, in the same way that, like, donating to charity is not just good for your soul, but, like, also, you know, like, there are tax write-offs. There are, like, benefits to doing so. Is there some benefit to paying for random people's scholarships? Is it that they're trying to build connections with soon-to-be well-educated individuals? You know, like, I want to know. Is there, universities depend heavily on wealthy alumni donations as well? I think, I'm a real southerner. It's not get, but it's get. Yeah, speaking and politicians, opposable farms are optional even if you're rich. Thank you very much kindly. Get in the car. Oh, get in the car makes a lot of sense. Y'all are right. I went to prison yesterday. I was in a prison theme bar. It was wonderful. Thank y'all for asking. And one of the things that I think they really appreciated about me was my southern accent. I think I do it absolutely wonderful. And yeah, we need a Toycat funded charity, maybe tax benefits. Yeah, there's gotta be. That's what I'm thinking. There's gotta be some benefit in there. Andrew Lloyd Webber is elite. It is Andrew Lloyd Webber I'm thinking of? Is it just the one then? I really want to know. Yeah, there's got to be some. So was that a real jail? No, it was a fake prison. There was meant to be a whole storyline going on. I'll be honest, didn't catch any of it. Just they made me a lot of prison. They're like, yeah, they made me like they called it chicken soup, but it was like cocktails. It was delicious. It was a wonderful time. They smuggled them in for me. It was very, very, very cutesy. Also, PR, giving scholarship is probably good PR. Yeah, but from my angle, KMB, giving a scholarship is one of the most expensive. Like, right now, I think if I gave, I think the amount of money you need to give to like make someone happy can be shockingly low. You know, in the developed world especially, like you can save someone's life for like $80, right? It's shockingly low how little you need to save one life on average. But like a scholarship costs so much. So much. And like it just doesn't seem like an efficient way to be generous. You know, I know that's a silly concept, like being generous efficiently. But like it's a real thing that you would want to do, right? Is you have a certain amount of money. Yes, but education is a community good. But again, one person's education, like when you're talking about paying for someone to go to university, you're not even talking about, you know, like giving them a thing that is worth 30,000. They were already going to get or like 50,000 or 70,000. They were already going to get the education, right? That education is a guaranteed thing. The only thing that changes, as best I can tell, is, you know, like, again, maybe I'm wrong. I would love to hear. The only thing that changes is now they don't have as much debt. You spend $30,000 for someone to be like, I don't have student loans anymore. Like, it's the same thing as being like, okay, I'm going to start paying off people's mortgages. You got a mortgage? I'm going to pay it off for you. There's got to be something in there. Anyway, for a brief update on how my life is going, I've been doing I have been trying to find a better balance, and it's been working quite well for me. I'd say like my stress levels are fairly low. I'm getting like some exercise in every day. I mean I'm still like I don't think I'm like living healthily, great, 10 out of 10, wonderfully, but it is going well, and I think that's the important thing is like taking steps in the direction you want to go. I think one of the bigger problems that can be too easily, like, you can trick yourself into, you can trap yourself into, is a lot of people will start to, like, the easiest thing to do in the moment is often not the best thing for the long run. And so the hardest thing to confront is to look at your life and say, if I keep doing what I'm doing right now for X amount of time, X number of years, will I be happy with the result? And that's a really hard question to confront. Because ultimately, like, oh, how could you be? You know, how could anyone say that they definitely would be? Okay, so it's going to go in front of these blocks right here. We're going to have another pillar. I guess we could just place the blocks at a certain point. But, yeah, it's a really hard question to actually ask yourself and actually be honest with the answer for. Because sometimes the answer is, like, a flat no. Like, you would have been happier if you'd have made some hard decisions in the past. And it's like, okay, so is there any chance those hard decisions can happen? If the answer is no, then, you know, like, it's an unrealistic outcome. You shouldn't think about it. You know, I can't think about, like, what if I became an astronaut? Because I can't become an astronaut. But I can think about, like, okay, well, what if I had just worked a little bit harder on this thing? What if I had just eaten one fewer bag of Skittles every day? I've got a lot of Halloween snacks right now. I'm eating so many. Every time I walk through the kitchen, I'm having a bag of Skittles, and I don't have any regrets. They're delicious. I love Skittles. But yeah, so it's like, you know, if you're eating one fewer bag of Skittles a day, make a big difference on the long run, right? Every individual bag is like, it's a small indulgence, like in terms of like badness, for a really positive feeling. Like the feeling you get when you finally give in and you have the delicious thing. It's a big change. But the cumulative effect starts to be negative. And the same is true for like, I know even stuff like, oh, should I work on this video that I think is important? Or should I, you know, like, I could instead play a little more City Skylines. I could play a bit of Hearthstone on the sofa. Ultimately, you can't decide to never do one of those things. Although, you know, ultimately that's where some people end up. But, there's a Wither Rose here. I wonder, do I want that? Did I fight the Wither here recently as part of the Wither Tunnel? Is that why it's so run down to the ground? I'm guessing it must be. Speaking of things that must be, yeah, I think making this out of polished deep slate is like a thing I should have done a long time ago. Specifically because this happens otherwise. And having polished deep slate, great way to prevent that, as it turns out. But yeah, my channel is going really, really well right now. Thank you for asking, Internet. The overall size and scale is still coming together quite nicely. I think there is a... okay, we're going to still dig more and upwards. I think there is still a bit of a scope issue on this. Like, it's so many blocks. But I see myself getting closer and closer to that halfway mark as we slowly do more and more of this, which is something I'm very pleased about. So, Kat, what happened to your city quiz videos? Were they losing money, says Biggles Macintosh. Do you mean, like, guessing all of the cities in a certain area? People just didn't find it very interesting. That's a hard thing to admit as a content creator, right? Is like, that there is a thing that you do that you enjoy that people don't like. And you ultimately get to decide, like, again, that's a case of, like, looking at myself and saying, if I made this video that I kind of like that people don't, and, you know, as a result, fewer and fewer people watch them, in the long run, what does that result in? And am I okay with that result? You know, the answer can be yes in a lot of cases. But I think trying to take, like, a long-term approach on things is one of the healthiest but hardest things to do as a human. It's so hard to, like, accurately say, yeah, I want these things, even though they're gonna cause some short-term pain. But I'm trying my best to work on it right now, and so one of those things is, like, maximizing productivity, like, is always important. But trying to take, like, a slightly longer-term approach on it, and saying, yeah, if I can consistently do this every day for a week, that is much better than, I don't know, I used to have a schedule where I'd be so burnt out towards the end and, like, need recovery days of, like, oh god, I've been glued to my computer for every hour for a while. And then you spend more time doing something that, yeah, anyway, you know, I'm saying a lot to say a little. But my point here is to say that I've been working on myself, and a part of that is I'm taking a bit of a trip going to the Western Hemisphere. And hopefully I'm gonna go out to nature a lot. It's gonna be fun. Hopefully I don't get mauled by a bear. If I do, this is my last live stream ever. And I want to just say, quick PSA. At my funeral, everyone should donate to an anti-bear charity. That's an interesting thing that's come up recently. It's like, I don't like all the question, like, I don't like funeral play. You know, like, you know how I was saying earlier, like, try to ask a bunch of people what they want for dinner and they can barely decide. One of the hard things is, like, try and ask people how should you honor a dead person who meant a lot to you? Or, I guess, someone who is now dead, but meant a lot to you when they were alive. And it's kind of funny because most people have an instinct of, like, I don't know. And I can tell, like, every, like, funeral place has, like, a bunch of, like, sneaky charges that are set up for, like, yeah, I wouldn't want to not do that just in case people liked it. Like, you can have a charity thing set up as a funeral so people can give money. But funeral places will charge, like, £50 to, like, process that for you. And it's like, oh, man, you worked out how to... No, and then the way they ask, they're like, oh, yeah, so is there a charity you've decided that people can donate to? Oh, yeah, you don't like charity? That's fine. We just won't take the £50 fee. That's cool. Yeah, if you don't like charity, we just won't charge you the charity fee, because obviously you don't need it. And alongside that, the money for it. It'd be kind of ironic if there's a mountain lion. If I die to a mountain lion, it'd be horrific. Actually, you know, I've always thought that. Like, so I've been thinking about death a lot recently. I don't know if that's obvious, internet. But one of the things that's come up is, like, you know, are your last moments your best or your worst? Because everyone fears the moments before you die, but that's because it's a natural human thing. No one wants to get to the stage where we're about to die. But, like, is it the worst thing in the world as you're bleeding out and you're like, ah, the mountain lion! No, he's coming back around too, no! You know, is that what death is like? Or is death more like, oh yeah, your brain starts to cool you down, it starts to sunset your consciousness. What's the opposite of puss? Yeah, if I did run into a giant mountain lion, what would I need to say to it to make it go away, internet? Because I'm gonna need to find that out, and I prefer if it was sooner rather than later, if I'm being totally honest with you. You can prepay for that so your family don't have to deal with it, so you can make your own plans for it, says Busy Beastcraft. See, that's the thing a lot of people have been mentioning, like, in response to basically what happened in my life where there isn't one of those. But even then, a funeral isn't about you. It's not about your wishes, is it? It's about the wishes of those closest to you. In my hardcore world yesterday, I found a 12 vein of diamonds. If you want, you can put the seed, I can put the seed in coordinates, but that's a lot of work, lol. Send them to me in an email. I think diamonds and seeds is something that I want to show at some point. Like, yeah, I think one of the hardest bits of it is, like, unless you die to a big leopard, that's okay, right? Man, dying to a leopard would suck. You know, I don't want to die to any big cat, but if I do die to a big cat, I want him to cuddle me first. That's my one rule. If you're a mountain lion and you're watching this, you know, at least buy me dinner first, is what I'm basically saying. If you wear your cat mask, you'll be safe from everything but a mirror. Imagine there's a mountain lion out there, and I'm like, what if, actually? Look, we're friends. Me and you, the mountain lion. Actually, I want to see a mountain lion and a house cat in the same room. You know exactly where my YouTube search is going the moment this stream is over. Anyway, Toycat, I heard the myth was officially complete and you have a cat. No, the cat left me in the morning. It was the cutest thing. This random cat that came into my house, slept with me all night. It was adorable. And then just left in the morning. Or rather, I cooked up some pasta and he wanted some. But I don't think you're meant to give cats pasta. And even if you could, it was good pasta. I didn't want to share it. And so as soon as I didn't give him the pasta, he just left. He's like, I'm not having this anymore. He was here for like a whole day. But the not having pasta, he's just like gone. I think that's the most ridiculous, like, it really was a random cat that just came in. We fudged the timeline a bit on Q&A Saturday. I'll be honest with you. But, I had a cat for a whole day and it was adorable. And now I'm sad because I have no cats. Anyway, yeah, where did the cat go? I think it's just a cat that like has lots of homes in the area. He's just a cat who doesn't mind coming into your home. That's what I have concluded, at least. Anyway, a one-night cat stand says oof. Exactly, a one cat stand. A one night cat. Yeah, one night cat. There we go. That's the best way to do it. Anyway, to bring things full circle, I'm now at my favorite build in the world. It's a giant copy of me wearing a suit. Back from when the suit ocelot skin was a thing I could have. Right now, I'm not allowed it. It's wild. Just at the time that Bedrock happened, like they picked my one skin to transfer over to Bedrock, and now I can never be Toycat but in a suit again. But if you watch some of my old videos, that's the skin I used to wear. But now it looks like I'm finally being like, yes, it is Supreme Leader Toycat who rules the world from the mountaintop. And I do think it's a fun little addition. That's the fun thing about having a world this old is like, some things you make, you're like, why? But some things really like start to grow on you over time. Anyway, speaking of things that grow on you, this video has grown on me, but I must be finishing, for it is 10 PM and I am leaving the country tomorrow. So thank you very much for watching today. Give me your love and support, and more importantly, your ibxtoycat.store money, because you can get literally just an IBX Toycat shirt in lots and lots of fun colors available there right now. Also, something I learned is the Amazon links I've been using. I've had a link for it for a while, but basically I've been giving some Amazon links out to buy 3DS gift cards, I think. But apparently you don't, those don't count for the Amazon affiliate program. So if you want to know what stream equipment I use for my capture card, my webcam, my lighting, and you want to maybe purchase one yourself, I'll leave a link in the video live stream description. And if you purchase anything else, I believe it helps me. I'm not sure if you're allowed to say that. I need to look into the Amazon affiliate program. Don't think I can keep saying that if it's a banned rule. Anyway, one of the things that isn't banned is me saying thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.